So hi everyone, welcome to our first Ramadan Majlis for TG. We're hosting this for the first time, and it's going to be a bunch of series where we're going to be talking about different topics within the sector and bringing in different speakers as well. And we're glad to have Namir Khan today here with us as our first speaker, joining in on our first session on the topic of innovation. So we're going to get to know more about what is innovation recently going on in this sector, how it's been like, and has there really been real innovation, or is the word just being thrown around? So just some background on Amir Khan. He is the chairman of MENA FINTECH ASSOCIATIon, and they've done some prominent work in terms of growing fintech in the region. So just to get started, how are you, Namir?
Thank you, Safa, for having me. Ramadan Kareem to everyone joining in. Ramadan Kareem to you, and Ramadan Kareem to the entire TG team as well. And doing very well. Like just still in the state of a food coma after iftar. You know how it is.
Yeah, I mean, like we're all going through that food coma, especially the first week with Ramadan. I feel like we're all like, oh, let's get eating just right when the adhan goes off. But yeah.
So the irony is the work starts after iftar in this part of the season. So yes.
Yeah, so for us to just get started with the topic, we'd like to know what are the recent trends we're seeing within the financial sector? What are we seeing in terms of fintech?
So, so in recent trends in terms of fintech have been tremendous, I would say, Safa. There are multiple of them that have really emerged in the past, I would say 1 year, how things have really shaped up from how this entire, I'm sure all of you have understood and read about it, how the financial services has shaped up significantly simultaneously. One of the most disrupted sectors, even pre-COVID, was payments. And during and after COVID as well, it has been payments as well. And the important thing of the trend is that people now realize the importance of how digital payments empower us all today. So, even during or even after COVID, if you did not have the payment mechanisms, how payments are being conducted in this, in today's era, we would be completely, I would say, the right word would be disabled to actually conduct our transactions, right? So the world has really, so the trend, one of the trends I would say on the consumer perspective is that people have really understood the importance of what financial services can do when it comes to digitization of that. And secondly, the other trend that I also see is that initially there was, the banks and the other players always saw that this is just a fad, it's going to go away. But there's a rising trend in adoption of financial services being digitized as well. However, in terms of how the segment has changed, payments just has been significant. The second thing recently, I think right after that was open banking. Open banking was the most talked about and is still the most talked about subject, which is just scratching the surface right now. And I think it has a significant role to play. I'm not saying this just because I want a TG session. I'm actually saying this because it is a reality. Open finance is not just the future; it is the reality now. And then the second is the micro lending, which is buy now, pay later. So these are the three things that I would say have really shaped up. And the other segment is going to be more towards digital currencies that have also emerged significantly. Where on digital currency, you have two segments that are being focused on. One segment is where the governments are focusing on their own central bank digital currencies to tackle the threat that they're facing from the unregulated currencies that are out there. But those currencies are also taking a significant rise, as you can see lately. Coinbase just went public, and simultaneously there has been, Bitcoin has crossed 60. So the thing is that there has been a rise in these critical verticals that we have seen lately in terms of how the payment segment is shaping up. But there's a lot more, but these are the top 3-4 that I would personally highlight as the highlights in the last 12 odd months.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with payments. I mean, looking at it with like years past until now, the changes have been tremendous indeed. And I like the different point, like the fintech verticals that you've mentioned. They are definitely a lot out there now and getting that traction. That gets me to my second question. So you've mentioned open banking, for instance, and a lot of that we see being fueled by from a regulatory perspective. So how about with the rest of the fintech verticals and open banking included? What do you say would be what is fueling these changes? What has been impacting them and what has been putting them out there?
People like you and people who are actually tuning into this Majlis right now, all of us have actually fueled it, right? There's a demand from all of us, right? So imagine you not being able to order via talabat and delivery, right? How would life be? As simple as that, right? Imagine if you had to pay via cash every single time and you did not have cash and you had to go out to the ATM to get cash out. This is as simple as this use case, right? Which means the consumer has demanded this, right? It's a consumer driven requirement. I call this, I mean, I don't call this, I should not be owning this, but this is called usually liquid expectations, where people expect the same level of experience, right? That they have experienced on different platforms when it comes to financial services too, right? So liquid expectations are liquid. So I mean, you can expect this from your bank, from your insurance company, from your any of the financial institution via which you have lent as by which you're actually borrowing the money, right? So the thing is that this entire growth that we have seen is driven by the consumer itself. That's how this is what basically fuels it. Now, this is on the B2C segment. Now, even on the B2B segment, right now, if we understand the B2B segment, why would a B2B segment want to innovate itself and why would they want to change itself? Number one, if they do not change themselves, then there are companies, that tech companies are coming into financial services. So now we have seen Google stepping into payments, right? So then you have not stepping into, they've already stepped into it. You have Amazon going into insurance, payments, they're going into micro lending or buy now, pay later. Why are they doing this? They are doing this because their user wants a few things, right? We all want a few things, which is ease, access, convenience, transparency, affordability, and delight. We all require this regardless of the industry, be that ride hailing, be that food ordering, be that Amazon, be that any of these online e-commerce players that you are basically shopping from. We all need ease, access, convenience, transparency, affordability, and delight in all different industry verticals. So the growth is driven from the consumer. Now, on the B2B side, why are they doing it? The reason why they are doing it is that they want to be able to pass on the benefit to the end user, right? So if they are not lean enough, if they have too many intermediaries in their own structures, then they would never be able to compete with the lean pricing that's actually operating in the market at the moment. So it's driven by the end of the day, it's driven by the consumer, because the consumer today is so volatile, right? They are so price sensitive. If you get a discount from one platform to the other platform, you'll go there. Or second is that if you get better service from one platform to the other platform, and you have to pay a few dirhams or a few dollars extra, you would do that in exchange for better services. So it is, for my understanding, what I see and what I've studied in terms of the change in the user behavior is the main driver for whatever you see today. And whosoever fails to basically deliver to it is going to be the one who is going to be probably out of the field.
Yes, I completely agree with you on the customer experience perspective. I mean, like for us, even if the experience is good and the product is good, then it's great. But if the experience is bad and the product is amazing, we'd still not take on the product for whatever reason, because the experience is what is lacking on a consumer.
So if you do not time it, so you may have the best product.
Yeah.
Anyone can have the best product. Best food. Okay, you're ordering the food from the best restaurant. Imagine the food delivery, or the company that's delivering you the food delivers it to you probably like 10, 15 minutes or 20 minutes after the estimated time of arrival, ETA. That is an issue for us. We've become really, really impatient, right? And that's the level of service. This is the importance of the quality of service that you would need. And this is the importance of it. This is what, again, for my, how I see it, this is what fuels today's innovation and growth. Because every single company, every single entrepreneur, every single one of you and one of us is basically trying to seek for the ease, access, convenience, transparency, affordability, and the like.
Yes. That's great for you to say. And as well, on the more, like, let's say, financial aspect of things, regulation always comes in between. How have you seen in terms of regulation actually fueling the change within the MENA sector when it comes to innovating and pushing out fintechs?
Brilliant. So it's a great question. So our region is separate to what is, what we see in North America, in EU, or in Far East. Our region is different, where you cannot just go out and just build something on your own, because you have to be within, you have to be following the laws and the regimes of the state that you're operating in, or the jurisdiction that you've been operating in. Now, not that I am saying this because of without any, I would say, solid evidence. In this part of the world, I would say regulators were the ones who stepped up initially, right? They are the ones who encouraged people to innovate. And then after that, platforms came in. Look, for example, what happened in Bahrain, right? I'll give an example of Bahrain itself. Bahrain, we all talk about Bahrain as a great sandboxing environment, right? So you basically execute in Bahrain and then you move ahead. Now, in Bahrain, the Central Bank of Bahrain had mandated the open banking angle, which then resulted in wider adoption. So I would say, and same goes for, let's say, ADGM in UAE, DIFC in UAE, and of course, central bank as well. You have Central Bank of Egypt as well. Now, these regulators have been taking a strong step forward in terms of driving true innovation as well, and most importantly, working in close collaboration with fintechs as well. And I'm sure with your experience as well, you would understand that regulators are really flexible and they would want to work with fintechs itself. So it's quite encouraging in our part of the world. It may be a challenge, by the way. I'm not saying all the rosy things just for the sake of picturing out the nicest picture. That's a happy journey, but there is always a difficult journey as well when you're dealing with the regulators. But all in all, I would say regulators have done a fantastic job in terms of driving fintech growth. You see that the largest fintech events as well in our region are run by regulators. So that's a sign.
Yes, indeed. Definitely agree with you on that front. But speaking of challenges, or let's say the unrosy parts of things, how do you see the word innovation itself being used? Is it just being used sometimes in, PR stunts, but has there actually been innovation going on? Or is it just the word that they throw out, even if it's just like, let's say, traditional methods being used, but, refined differently? So now it is innovation. What are your thoughts on that?
By the time we end this session, after this question, I'll be having a lot more people against me. But the thing is that, see, it's a reality. You have the good and you have the bad, right? Every time.
No.
So you have some people who just want to ride the wave, and some organizations who just want to ride the wave. Innovation is as easy as it sounds. It's as difficult. Now, I'll just give you one small example. I talked about ease, access, convenience, transparency, affordability, and delight. I think probably like too many times within the past 10 minutes. With this, I would like to say, behind simplicity, innovation today is being simple, easy access, right? So behind simplicity always is a lot of complexity, right? So as easy as it sounds, it's not that easy. Yes, we have seen a lot of financial institutions that have stepped up saying, hey, we are going to become this. We are going to be the best innovating bank, or we'll be the best innovative insurance company, or we'll be this and that. But in reality, there's a lot of, there's a dearth of innovation, even from their side. So there has been a lot of PR stunts, but at the same time, there have been some players who've really done a great job. Like, once again, please don't get me wrong, just because I'm on your Majlis, that does not mean that I'm just praising you for the sake of it. I've heard great things about TG every single time when I speak to someone. But that means there are those players who are actually doing the right level of work, right? However, there are some players who have no clue of what they're doing, but they are also in the game. But with this, what happens is a couple of things. Is that number one, it spoils the market, right? It spoils the reputation of the vertical. So let's say if you have someone focused on open banking or someone focused on BNPL and they don't really understand the space that well, and they are going out there and innovating, right? What does this do? That results in suboptimal experience of the person who's going to be, or the organization implementing it. That that leads to bad taste. And after that, everyone isn't generalized, right? Okay, everyone's going to be the same quality. So innovation, it has been a used, a badly abused word as well, right? But at the same time, I mean, as a part and parcel of the process, you always have some solid players, and you always have some people who are going to make noise, but they lack depth. However, when it comes to larger financial institutions, there has been a concern where a lot of these fintechs would go to them, and the implementation times takes significant amount of time for them to work with the fintechs, and that is because of multiple reasons. One of the reasons is typically their own infrastructure is not ready. The intent is there, the communication is there, the PR has gone out, and now people are all excited that we will go and we will work with them. Or when they go and work with them, then there is lack of infrastructure readiness, which results in what? A fintech or a tech company not being able to work with them closely. Secondly, expectations rise. When expectations rise and when the service levels are below expectations, there's always the customer levels significantly take a deep dive, right? So innovation is one of those words, I would say, in the history of in the history of words, which is going to be one of the most badly, I would say, abused word, because innovation is used for every single thing,
Speaking of the time, you mentioned a crucial point about how there is a lack of infrastructure with bigger financial institutions. And so on time specifically, what do you think the future holds? Like, what changes can we expect in the future? When will they be ready to adapt with these genuine, real innovations that are actually happening?
So innovations are happening, right? I think it's just a matter of, I think in the past 12 months, what we have seen is a dramatic rise of strong players, strong tech players coming into play. 12 months before, they were not taken seriously. What has happened, and where we stand at this point of time is, these players have been, are being taken seriously. One. Number two, in terms of innovation, what do we expect, right? So we expect rapid leapfrogging to happen. Right, so there's going to be rapid leapfrogs that are going to happen in terms of customer experience. And the good thing is that the customers are ready for it. They're expecting new things coming in towards them every single time. So innovation, if I was to say that, so there are two types of innovation. One is disruptive innovation, that is for the sake of innovation. And the second is sustainable innovation, which actually generates revenues for the company that's basically implementing it. And secondly, that also makes sense for the users who are also basically using it too, which of course then results in revenue streams for the company implementing it. So for me, innovation, I would say what we expect, drastic change. Number two, one of the things that you all would see is the rise of digital banks coming into this region, right? So you would see just in UAE, you have Yak Bank, you have Zand that has just announced their entry as well into the market. Then you have also have ADQ as well, launching their digital bank too. So in a smaller market like UAE, we have around 10 million people, and then you have 3 banks, right? And they will be competing with what? With strong, extremely strong customer experience that's going to come towards the customer. So the customers are then going to be not just overwhelmed, but their level of experience with the banks is going to raise the bar significantly. Once the bar raises significantly, then any of these existing banks or anyone who's coming into the play then after them is going to be, it needs to be at par with those digital banks itself. So one of the things, digital banks, and of course, in terms of, that's one of the things that I would say, that we would closely see impacting our lives in terms of fintech, at least in the coming months, if not, I would say the next 6 months, but I would say in the coming months.
Yes, that's a lot of changes in a short span of time as well. I mean, 6 months in a year, a lot has happened indeed, especially like that's what we've been seeing as well from a fintech perspective as well.
Correct.
I'm a bit wary of time, so we're going to pick up one of the questions.
Already?
Yes, I know it's very enjoyable speaking about, a topic that we're both very passionate about. But yes, so one of the questions are banks really innovating? With Apple launching family credit card, wondering why banks are not thinking this way.
That's what you called a legacy mindset. When you're complacent in your own comfort zone, that's what happens. And fintech, the heart of fintech is payments. That's where it all starts from. For Apple started their, Apple was smart, so is Google, so is Samsung, so is Amazon. All of these players have, if you notice, all of them have started with payments, right? They don't need to be a primary bank account to see how much money and how much salary you're getting every single month. What they care about is that they are giving you convenience, and against that convenience, they're able to see how much you're spending. And with that spend along blended with the other sources of data that they have about you, right? They're able to create a risk profile around you, which is far more superior than what a bank would have had for the longest amount of time, because that is what the banks would have a static data, and these platforms have dynamic data with them, right? Which is real-time dynamic data, and they can profile you accordingly. One of the major reasons, and you see, that's how Apple started, and then they went into the credit cards and then launched, and then the family card, right? So, and the new digital banks that are coming into play are thinking on that tangent. So most of them that I know, that I've seen the product as well, the apps as well, they all offer family credit. They all offer family cards, kids cards, gamification for kids as well, so that the parents can teach their kids on how to earn money and how to spend money, right, and how to save money as well. So, and why? It's the same formula that Amazon had followed by actually distributing Kindle to their to kids. The reason why they did that is this person back in the days asked Jeff Bezos, why are you distributing this to the kids? He said, because these are going to be my customers in the next 12 years, right? So it's all about, building up your customer base from the very beginning. It's forward thinking, and it's also an issue that I would say legacy mindsets, where you are complacent, and when you think that we are too strong enough to be broken, I think that's one of the reasons, and that's where you will have these players like Kareem and others stepping into the play and offering their financial services wing as well. And most importantly, they speak your language.
Yes, I mean, language is a huge thing as well. I feel like a lot of the gaps are within language too, and definitely, I mean, the future is definitely within digitalizing financial services and fintech and payments. I mean, even the example that you've used with Kindle, that is something that Amazon did in terms of what we would call sustainable innovation, right? Thinking on the long run and using what there is to kind of build on more. It was really great having you, Namir, on this call. And it was a pleasure having you on our first Ramadan Majlis as well. Hopefully more to come. And thank you for all the information, and hopefully I hope all the viewers as well felt as informed now about the topic as we would like to be. Thank you.
I hope I was able to add value, and
you touched base so much. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you guys again soon on our next session.